Hi everyone, in this video we're going to go over another Leetcode question, merge intervals. Major tech companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, LinkedIn are asking this question while they're conducting their technical interviews. I hope you will find this video tutorial helpful for your technical interview preparation. Let's start with reading the question. Given a collection of intervals, merge all overlapping intervals. Example 1, intervals 1, 3, 2, 6, 8, 10, 15, 18. Becomes 1, 6, 8, 10, 15, 18. Since intervals 1, 3 and 2, 6 overlaps, merge them into 1, 6. Excuse me. Example 2. Intervals 1, 4, 4, 5 becomes 1, 5. Intervals 1, 4 and 4, 5 are considered overlapping. So you can think of intervals like time slots. Between 1 and 3, 2 and 6, they overlap, so you merge them into 1 and 6. Then 8, 10, and 15, 18, that becomes the output. So let's get on the whiteboard and try to solve this. So we need to understand what is an interval. So you can think of this as time slots. Between 15 and 18, 8 and 10, 2 and 6, 1 and 3. You want to hire meeting rooms, okay? And these are the time slots you have. There's one meeting here, another meeting here, another meeting here, another meeting here. And you can hire one meeting room for this. And you can use the same meeting room for this. And you can use the same meeting room for this because they are not overlapping. But here, you will need another meeting room because these two overlap. And 1 and 3, 2 and 6 are overlapping. So you will need 2 meeting rooms. So the question is, we need to merge these 2 intervals. That's what we need to do here. Okay, so how are we going to solve this? In the question, what is difficult here is the integer array. So this is an array of integer arrays. So this is an array, and each element is an integer array. So dealing with an array of integer array could be difficult sometimes. So first, we are given the intervals that is not sorted. We should start comparing. If you look at this, we need to compare the second element of this item the first element of this item. Then you see the overlap here. Like if this is greater than this, then there's an overlap. So what we need to do is we need to sort them by the first element and compare by the second element. So how are we going to do the sorting? Sorry. We are going to use lambda comparator operator to solve this array by the first items of the arrays. So arrays that sort intervals I1 and I2, integer that compare, I1 and I2, integer that compare I1.0, I2.0. So compare by the first items and sort it. And we will see this sorted array after this sort operation. And this takes O(n) log n time complexity. And we need to add it to our result, O(n) log n time complexity. Then we create the list of integer array that we will return in the end. And that is the result. So we need to go through this array one by one. And we need to compare each item with the previous item, right? So we create a previous interval here. That will be iterating through the array, but placed in the previous place and do the comparison. And first we will add result to the previous interval. So let's call this result. And I place this in 1 and 3. Okay? So I put it in the result array. Then I start looping through. For each interval is an integer array inside intervals. Okay, I'll go through each of them. So I place this before each items, right? So if interval 0 is less than previous interval 1, this is my previous interval and this is my interval. In this case, they are the same. And in this case, interval 0 is less than previous interval 1. That is the case. So previous interval 1, I'm updating this. Mathmax, previous interval 1 and interval 1. So in this case, I'm updating this to 3, right? So this will be updated to 6. So, sorry, 3. Sorry, my apologies. So this is the first item. Math.max, previous interval. So whichever has the greatest interval, greatest value, we set it to the greatest value, okay? So in this case, we set it to 3, and that's our result. And we continue looping. Next element. My previous interval. So if you place it here, that would be better. So here, let's put it this way. This is where our iterator is, and this is where we place the previous interval. Okay, so interval.0 is 2. Previous interval.1 is 3. You see the overlap here? Yes, there's an overlap. So what do? Previous interval.1 becomes math.max, previous interval 1 and interval 1. So maximum of either these two. As I said in the beginning, we are sorting by the first item and comparing by the second, so merging by the second item. So here, in this case, this will become 6. We are taking the maximum of this, so we are updating this to 6. Excuse me. So we continue. Now we have the new element here. So that is these two are now merged. So they start from 1, they go until 6, something like this. Right? So they start from 1, they go until 6. And these two are now merged. And iterator continues. And I have my previous interval here. And check previous interval 1, 6, right, is equal to, sorry, let's do the if check first. Interval 0 is 8, and previous interval 1 is 6. We are comparing the new interval 0 and previous interval's second element. So interval 0 is 8, less than or equal to previous interval 1? No. So what do? We implement the else. Previous interval is interval. Now our interval changed to 8 and 10. We keep this previous interval for comparison. That's why we are using a separate interval idea here. And result that add previous interval. So what do here? We add it into our result. Right? So this is our 8 and 10, and that will stay somewhere here. So next iteration. So our next iteration is this. Oops. Take it. Next iteration is this. Move it to this. Okay. So here is 8 and 10. And we check again. Interval 0 is, this is our interval. Interval 0 is 15. Interval 1 is, previous interval 1 is 10. 15 is greater than 10. So we implement this. Previous interval becomes interval. So we set it to 15 and 18. And we are adding our adding it into our array. We don't need to merge anything. We simply add the result. And 18. If there are more items, we will keep comparing. And that will be when we return result to array, new integer result.size. We create an integer array of the result.size and return it into turning into array, turning this into array. So these are the complicated parts, like doing this result to array, new integer result.size. Then that will be our answer. So this is pretty much it for this. And let's see this in the code. So if interval length is 1, just return intervals. Sort using lambda operator. Sort by the first elements. Now your array is sorted. Create your result. I call it new interval. I call it previous interval in the whiteboard, but it is new interval, previous interval, same thing. New interval, add it to the list. Start comparing. Take the max. Add it to the result. Return the array. Let's submit. So this is all there is to it. This is now works, and this is pretty much it for this question. I hope it was helpful. I hope I made some sense to you, and I have more videos coming up. So if you subscribe to my channel, we can meet again later. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.